Greetings, this is Spiritually Speaking 7 coming to you at 4 in the morning. I said to myself, I'm going to try to push this video out real quick about astrology and free will. Because you do have free will in astrology. And, excuse me, basically, the planets represent energy, and each planet's energy is distinct unto its own. And at the time of your birth, these planets fell into signs and they fell into houses, and they aspected each other. And when you look at your natal chart, that is a snapshot of the energy that was present during your time and day of birth. So, after studying astrology for a long time, I can't even say we believe. We know that those energies in your chart are the energies that you possess. And this means that the energy belongs to you. But if you don't know the energy belongs to you and you think that you have nothing to do with this energy, it just uses you to express itself, then you won't take the energy and make that energy work to your advantage. You will just let that energy have its way with you. And this is the reason why we hear the terms, you out of control, you need to get a grip of yourself, you better handle that. You know, I'm pretty sure that each of us have heard that at some point in our life. You better handle yourself, you better get a grip of yourself, you out of control. And what that means is that you're letting the energies run you instead of you running the energies. Now, when we have that issue of being out of control, not being able to handle ourselves, when we have that issue, it's because we're not aware that we actually have all the control. And the reason why we're not aware is because we don't have knowledge of self, knowledge and understanding of self. For me, before I got into astrology, my Gemini rising took over me. It was, it had taken over me. And even though I have Saturn in the first house, my Saturn in the first house, the energy was, manifesting through me. It was manifesting through me at my highest. Because, Saturn is all about discipline and teaching and responsibility. But Saturn also rules depression. And before I became aware of my energies, I was on my low side of Saturn, which is depression and, worry about the future. And I had that in my first house. And my rising sign is Gemini. So one of the things about Gemini is a talker. And when they don't understand their communication energy or their messenger energy, they talk too damn much. And they overtalk people and they cut people off and they try to finish people's sentences. And I used to do that a lot. And I used to get told by my mother particularly that I talk too much and that I needed to shut the fuck up sometimes. Like my mom used to say that to me. She used to hurt my feelings real bad. And I won't go into my Mars square Venus in this video, But my Mars square Venus is a challenge, one of my challenging aspects, and my Moon square Neptune is another challenging aspect. But I'm going to just talk about the Gemini rising because every time I try to go into other stuff, I just lose my time and my videos run out before I can finish it. So I want to get it done quickly. But through my example of how I corrected my Gemini rising, I applied that same correction method to my Mars square Venus and my Moon square Neptune. So when you hear how I handled my Gemini rising, then you'll understand that you have free will and that you can make the energies work for you rather than work against you. And I'm going to talk now about the first house and the seventh house, and then I'm going to go back to my Gemini rising. So I did not just hear about my big mouth and talking too much from my mom. I got that from a lot of people. And sometimes they wouldn't tell me that I talked too much. They would just show me that I was talking too much by ignoring me or walking off while I was talking. People have different ways of showing you that they're disappointed with you or they're not feeling you right now or they're not liking your behavior. They have different ways of showing you and or telling you. And so the first house is important to help you understand why that is. The first house represents you. And for me, my rising sign is Gemini, which is the talker, the communicator. Saturn in the first house. And the seventh house always represents the people that you have relationships with, the people that you relate to. That could be your family, romantic interests, co-workers, etc. And every house has an opposite house. And opposites require balance, They require balance. They're there to help balance things out. So the seventh house is there to help balance out the first house, and the first house is there to help balance out the seventh house. They mirror each other. And so my mother telling me I talk too much, and then me going out there into the world, interacting with other people, and them telling me the same thing, or showing it to me, or, giving me a vibe about it, about my talking. No matter how much they did this, I couldn't stop talking. I didn't want to upset people, but it was just the energy of Gemini rising coming through me. And I was aware of it, but I didn't understand why it was that I talked as much as I talked in comparison to a lot of people I was encountering. But I did know that I was talking too much. Obviously, because everybody was telling me. So why is this important? This is important because if you got more than one person telling you something about yourself, you need to come out of your pride, you need to come out of your ego, and you need to take a step back and objectively consider what other people are telling you. Because they can see you. They see you from a whole another view. Because they're on the outside looking in at you. And you're on the inside looking out at them. And so you can't see your whole peripheral. You can't see that part of you. You can't see what's outside of you because what's outside of you is observing you. You're being observed from the outside by other people. They're picking up things about you and seeing things about you and feeling things about you. And they're going to communicate to you what it is they see, one way or the other, either through vibes or verbal communication. So I want to use this example of when I was going to the grocery store one day. I needed to park my car in the parking lot, and I saw this lady backing out of a parking place that I wanted to take. So I said, okay, let me sit here and wait for her to finish backing out. Now the woman was driving a Beetle Bug, Volkswagen Beetle, and they're pretty small, you know. And she had a lot of room behind her to back out, to back out one time and then turn left and drive right on out. But she backed out, and then she turned her steering wheel left and inched back forward, and then she turned her steering wheel right and inched backwards. And this is how she kept doing to come out of the parking space. And the reason why she was doing that is because she, from inside her vehicle, she could not see all that room that she had in behind her and in front of her. So she wanted to be extra careful in her approach of coming out of this parking place, because she didn't want to hit the posts. There were posts in the parking lot, and she didn't want to hit anyone's car. But if she knew how much room she had, she would have known that she wasn't going to hit nobody's car, and that she could have moved out of that parking place a lot faster versus the inching process that she was doing. And a part of me wanted to get out and say to her, you know, you got a lot of room in front of you, and you got tons of room behind you. Let me guide you. Let me guide you and assist you, and I can help you do this much faster. But I said, you know what? I'm not in a rush, so I'll just sit here and let her handle her business. She's making it happen. She's not hurting anyone. I'm not in a rush, so let me let her take her time and do what she needs to do if that's how she feels safe in her approach. But if I had shown her or told her how much room she had, she could have made the process of leaving that parking space a lot more timelier. And she would have been amazed because it was lots of room. So when I observed that situation, you know, every time I go out into the world, I always apply stuff to astrology. And things that I observe, I always apply it to astrology some kind of way. And how I applied that particular situation to astrology was, I saw her as the first house on the inside looking out. And I saw me as the seventh house outside looking in at her. And my mother was on the outside looking in at me, and all the other people around me that was telling me the same thing my mother was telling me, like that I talk too much, that I need to shut up, that I need to listen. They were on the outside looking in at me. So years later, when I got into astrology, okay, wait a minute. Before I say that, I want to say that whenever you put a sign on the first house, it's the sign, that particular sign that's on that house, projects an impulsive nature of that particular sign. So someone who has Sun or Mercury or even Moon in Gemini may not be as impulsive as an individual with a Gemini rising, unless they have a air sign on the first house, okay, which will modify that. But if they don't have, they have an earth sign on the first house or something more calm on the first house, and they have a Moon in Gemini, Sun and Mercury in Gemini, they're not going to be as impulsive as a Gemini rising. Just to help you all understand, for the newbies that's coming into astrology. So getting back to when I got into astrology years later, and I discovered that my rising sign was Gemini, I said, oh my God, what everybody's been telling me is true. I knew it was true, but I didn't understand why it was true. And so, because I didn't understand why I talked so much, I couldn't correct it. I didn't have the power. I didn't have the consciousness, the awareness that I could correct it, that I could change that energy. And the reason why I didn't have the consciousness, or the, or the knowing of the fact that I could change this, is because it wasn't very much people that I was running into that was like me. I wasn't, at the time, I wasn't running into people that talked as much as I talked. So I saw me as the problem, but I didn't know how to fix it because it was a natural energy that was coming through me. So when I got into astrology, it helped me to see, excuse me, it helped me to see that the Most High made me this way. This is how I was born. And if the Most High made me this way and this is how I was born, it can't be nothing wrong with it. It got to be beautiful. It got to be perfect. I said, but why are people always telling me how ugly it is? And so at this point, I had to stand outside of myself and look at myself from their shoes as people who were not like me. Therefore, they could not understand me. And I said, okay, if I was this person or that person, knowing what I know about them, how would I see me? I was like, oh gosh, I would want me to shut the fuck up. Exactly what they've been telling me. I would want me to shut up. I would want me to shut up so that I can get some peace and quiet. And, and if I'm not going to shut up, I would want me to at least listen, to at least give the other person a chance to respond and not hog the conversation, because I was a conversation hogger. So I said, okay, what I got to do is I got to listen just as much as I talk. That's what I'm going to have to go out there in the world and do. I'm going to have to shut up and listen to people if I want them to have conversation with me and not, see me as someone who's a conversation hogger. Because communication is important to me. I like to communicate. I like to exchange ideas. And I just like to, share what I have to offer and allow people to share back with me. But I wasn't to that point yet of, wanting people to share back with me because I was a communication hogger. So when I went back out into the world, I said, okay, I'm going to discipline myself to shut the fuck up and let other people talk. And I remember when I first went out and put myself to test on this and was training myself to shut up and listen. And the first thing that happened was I was shutting up and listening, but then I started trying to finish their sentences. And then they started telling me, you're not letting me finish. You're not letting me finish. So then I had to tweak my discipline some more and say, okay, at least let them finish before you try to figure out what they're saying. Because not only were they telling me I wasn't letting them finish, they started telling me that I'm not really listening. I just want to respond. And so the seventh house is important because the people who care about you, and even if they don't care about you, whoever you're dealing with and having relationships with, they're going to tell you what they see. They're going to show you some kind of way, how you're affecting them through your behavior. And that's your time to make corrections about yourself. Get out your ego, get out your pride. If you got more than one person telling you the same thing over and over again, you need to be objective and take a look at that. But it's hard to be objective if you don't understand why it is that you are the way that you are. Now everybody don't use the tool of astrology for self-growth, for growing oneself, for self-knowledge of self. Everybody don't use astrology for that. There's different tools out there in the world. But for me, when I got into astrology, it made me recognize the energies I was putting out and how the energies were controlling me. And once I came to understand that how I affected people, I made the necessary steps to discipline myself to run the energies and not let the energies run me. And see, that's where the free will comes in. See, that's where the free will comes in. Okay? So there's no such thing as astrological programming. The only thing there is a such thing as is energy. Okay? Whenever you interact with other people, That's your energy field coming in contact with their energy field. And everything is energy. Everything. So if you're going to say that, the energy is a programming, that means that everything is a program. Everything on planet Earth is a program because everything is energy. But if you want to say it's a programming, okay, you get to reprogram it. You have the free will to reprogram yourself. You have the free will to say, okay, I'm going to take control of my energies rather than let my energies continue to run me. So either way you look at it, and either way you say it, you still have free will and you still have the power. The energy resides in you. And you're the master of the energy. You say to yourself, okay, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to touch a little bit on my Mars square Venus. Just a little bit. Which denotes an individual who can be argumentative. And in my past, I was very argumentative. Like screaming, yelling, demeaning people, and then when I discovered this aspect and discovered how it really resonated for me at that time of my life, I said, oh God, this is ugly. I don't want to be like this, A lot of people was telling me about that aspect too. They was telling me, oh, you argumentative, you combative, and they wouldn't want to be around me because they knew when I came, I was going to stir some shit up. If it was a peaceful environment, I was going to find something to bitch and complain about, and once I discovered this aspect in my chart, I was like, I've been told about this. I wouldn't accept it because I thought I had the right to be the way that I was. I thought that, how I was expressing myself was right. I was telling the truth. What's the problem? But I came to see that because I thought there was no problem with it, it was actually something that people could use against me. And that combativeness I had, it was used against me. I remember going to court. I went to court with somebody who told their lawyer how to trigger me into that energy of combativeness, and the lawyer did it, and it worked. And I wound up the case didn't go in my favor. Put it, to make it plain and simple, it didn't go in my favor. So, excuse me for my sniffling because it is early in the morning and my sinuses is acting up. But when I realized that this energy of this could, of my Mars or Venus could be used against me, I said, okay, I'm not going to argue with people anymore. I'm not going to scream. I'm not going to yell. But this energy of being combativeness, I was born with it. It can't be nothing wrong with it. It got to be a time to be combative because why would the Most High give me this energy? How can I direct this energy in a way that works for me rather than against me? So I said, okay, now I got to go out there and discipline myself on this. I know I'm going to be triggered. I know it's going to be folks that's going to, make me feel triggered because squares are like triggers. But when it happens, I have to let my higher self say to myself, my lower self that's wanting to come out, don't yell, don't scream, don't argue. Say what you need to say. Don't back down. Say what you need to say. Be respectful. Be calm. And don't be impulsive. Don't let the impulse come over you to the point where you just saying stuff to be saying stuff, because that's what I used to do. Say stuff to just be saying something, just to be saying something back. Mars can be a real petty energy. And I said, don't give them that because, that's a immature side of your Mars square Venus. The mature way to express your Mars square Venus would be to not have a quick response. Do not give a quick response. Think. It's okay to think. It's okay to think about what you're going to say before you say it. It's okay. We're not in competition here because Mars is about competition as well. You're not in a competition here. You're mature. You're not a child. You don't have to have the upper hand, but you do need to express yourself and let it be known about what's bothering you and what you don't like. But you don't have to express it that way, the way you've been expressing it. Yelling, screaming, and having to have the last word. All you need to do is get your point across. That's all you need to do. And get it across thoroughly. Because when you yell and scream and you walk away from a situation, you be wishing you had said this and wishing you had said that. Well, the only reason why you wishing you had said something is because you were so impulsive to respond instead of thinking things out in a thorough way. That's the reason why you couldn't really express what you wanted to express. So the energy didn't work for you. It worked against you. Your Mars square Venus. So if you wanted to work for you, you're going to have to stop being impulsive, stop being petty, stop wanting to have the last word, because it ain't working for you. So why would you want to keep doing that? Why would you want to keep repeating the same thing and expecting a different result? You're going to have to do something different. So I went out there in the world and I trained myself and disciplined myself on that. So you have free will. You have free will to make your energies yield to you and do what you want those energies to do. So in astrology, you do have free will. And on that note, this video is 26 minutes. I think that's perfect. I'm going to close out. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm looking forward to doing the next one for you. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I appreciate you. I'm closing out. Peace.